Hello and welcome back to Weekly Polls Pick of the Week. I think this is episode number 82, or is it 83? I think it's 83. Well, I'll let the listeners decide. They'll correct us if we got it wrong. We've got the usual panel chewers today. Myself, I'm Mike, and we've got, of course, Steve and Jared. And if anybody is brand new, we're a podcast that talks about mostly new single-issue comics. Of course, we're throwing some oldies in there, here and there, and we're continuing the reading of the X-Men Claremont, the Claremont run on X-Men. I missed out last week, and I'm happy to be joining and talking about when Claremont actually kind of came onto the scene here. I think I did prepare kind of a topic or question that has been sitting with me for a while. So my question for you all to the panel, is there a style of artwork in comics that when you look at it, it just does not work for you? Is there anything in particular that might just maybe like doesn't work for you?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Mike. Mostly, no. I can appreciate comic artwork of all sorts for what it is. I would say if it's done professionally, and it's done to be published professionally, I enjoy most artwork unless it's unless it's particularly obvious that the artist needs to do his homework. Basically, he needs to refine his skills, and I've seen a few comics like that over the years, but nothing in a particular style or a particular genre or what have you. I've always appreciated good comic book artwork for what it is, and so as long as it suits the story, I'm totally down for pretty much anything.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question. I don't even have an answer myself. But artwork that sometimes just doesn't work for me. I can't even explain what it is, but there are moments when I'm like, this just doesn't, it's good. I can appreciate it, but it's just, and maybe it looks too much like animation is maybe the thing that I'm thinking of, or it does. And I have enjoyed some stuff that's like very simply done. And so it doesn't have to be extra sophisticated. But sometimes there's artwork that is soulless. I think you might know what I'm talking about, where it just looks like it's been, maybe it's computer generated or whatever. I don't know, but that it's just, something I've been thinking about. Once in a while, I'll see something and I'm just like, that might be a great story, but I can't get into it for whatever reason. And reading Martian Manhunter which we're going to talk about today. Initially, I was like, boy, this is really different, but I really did get into it. So, Steve, I don't know if you caught the question.
Oh, sorry, my battery is about to die. I had to plug in, but what was your question?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's why I was going to repeat it. Is there a style of artwork that just does not work for you for some reason?
Usually it's the artwork that, like we talked about, like looks like a computer generated it. It looks, like you said, it doesn't have a personal touch. It doesn't have, everything's too perfect. It looks almost fake, like it wasn't drawn by a person. Or I used to say when artwork looks like a cartoon, like a Saturday morning cartoon, but that's kind of changed now with things like Cruel Kingdom, where there's been some stories of Cruel Kingdom with some kind of cartoonish artwork, and they're really twisted stories, and it somehow works. So I think kind of to echo what you guys said is if the artwork can complement the story or it can work with the story, then I'm usually okay with it. If it has, there is some artwork like, and it's a little bit unfair, but sometimes when, like, what was the book that we read recently, Stand Still, that there was some really fantastic, really polished artwork, and then halfway through it changed artists. I think it's really unfair to judge it too harshly because it's not the artist's fault that they changed in the middle. The artist coming in anyway, so I try not to hold that against anything, but usually if it looks too perfect is when I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I wasn't trying to do like a gotcha kind of question. I was just like, I wondered if you ever, because I feel like I'm willing to try just about anything, but there's once in a while it could maybe be almost, you can tell it's more of a juvenile audience or something, but sometimes I'm still like, well, I used to like like the Harvey comics and stuff when I was younger, like that I used to read like these old, I don't know, like Polka Dot and what were the characters? I'm trying to remember, but I don't know. So I like some of that older kind of style stuff. Anyway, but yeah, something to think about.
Or there is one instance when it's obviously photo referencing. That's when it really bothers me.
Oh,
there's some. It's just not as bad as it was. There was a period of time there, and there were some artists that were really notorious for using photo referencing for their art. And you could tell, but it was just taken from a photo or taken from a poster or another image. And it just looked, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. But other than that, I mean, and there's some cool images that were made that way. I mean, there's some really great ones, but it doesn't have that soul.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, you guys ready to move into the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one for me this week is Behemoth number 3. This is by Dark Horse. And, I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla, kaiju type of stuff, usually. It's just really not my thing. But this turned out to be pretty good. Now, I'll kind of get into why. I was never really fully on board. I think after the first issue, I was lukewarm. I was like, it's fine. The second issue was kind of and then in the third issue, the survivors continue their journey through the inside of the monster, trying to survive. And I have to be honest, I thought I knew where this story was going because they find other survivors, and I thought I knew where it was going to go, and I had no idea. It goes pretty dark, which I appreciated, as most people who know me will predict. But yeah, I think it's a different approach to a kind of a big monster type of story, and I'm curious to see what happens with it. I'm not the biggest fan of all the kind of the wisecracks and jokes along the way, because in this kind of situation, I don't think most people would be making wisecracks. That's just a nitpick of mine in general. But yeah, I think it's pretty neat, and I was surprised that they took it the way they did. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it unravels.
That's funny. I know. I noticed as well that the older I get, the less I like the wisecracking in those supposedly highly destructive, almost apocalyptic situations.
Yeah, I think most people would be similar to what like Hicks is in Aliens, where he just loses his mind, and he's not making jokes. He's just he loses
right.
his.
Yeah.
I think that would be more what happens to most people, and not the joke
where he's not trying to be funny. He's genuinely scared, and that's how it manifests.
Yeah.
Instead of somebody just making wisecracks trying to be funny.
Yeah. So
game over, man. Is that the guy?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So for my distillery read of the week, from Distillery Comics, I read The Big Burn #1, and it's written by Joe Henderson and art by Lee Garbett, I think it's called. And this was an interesting first issue once again from Distillery. They're this time they're kind of exploring the deal with the devil kind of trope, and it was pretty interesting because it kind of has to deal with these two almost Robin Hood type thieves, modern day thieves, who trying to rob banks. I mean, they're doing it for themselves, but they also they're kind of against the man almost, you know. And so this couple they're doing this stuff and they end up getting caught and they make a deal with the devil, which is the basic premise of the book, in order to get out of jail and stuff like that, from getting caught. So it was pretty cool. I really actually kind of it was a lot of fun, and I thought that it moved at a nice brisk pace. It kept the action moving. There wasn't any kind of time for any kind of slog or anything like that. There's, you know, you get to know the devil right away, and you get to know these two characters pretty well in this first issue. And the one thing I like about Distillery first issues is they're 40-something pages, so you have a lot of time for story in that first issue, whereas a lot of first issues that are like only 22 pages are like, you don't really get to know anything about the characters at all. But with this format that they use, they do allow time to get to know the characters, get invested in them, and I'm actually really looking forward to reading the second issue, hopefully for next weekend, because it was fun. I want to see how it turns out. I want to see the mystery of what's going on here, of what they're trying to achieve. And some of it was quite far-fetched actually, but you've just got to suspend your disbelief for a little while and have fun with this comic.
You know, I know when Distillery, well, I think maybe like a year ago, there was a lot of talk about Distillery's cover prices being outrageous, but now when we're seeing 30-page books, $6, $7, it's really not all that bad.
It's not bad at all.
The quality of the product.
The quality of the product is great. Like, the artwork takes up the extra size, magazine size pages, and it really showcases it. And it's worth it for the beauty of that, and also you're getting a good 48-page story. It's $9. I mean, that's 2 Marvel comics, you know, that, and it's better. So,
or a Marvel on an Image.
Yeah.
Right, with it, and usually not. I don't think these are chocked full of ads either. Maybe they will be someday, but yeah. So for me, the first comic I'll talk about is Absolute Green Lantern #1. I feel like I read this at the beginning of the week, so I'm a little bit foggy, but I like this one a lot. I know a little bit about Green Lantern and his origin story, and this kind of touches on that, but it's different. The characters are different. You know, this is rather gritty. And I forgot to mention that the writer is Al Ewing, and the artwork is by Janoy Lindsay. I thought the pacing was very well done. This has almost more of horror elements to it, which I didn't expect. So of course, it's Green Lantern has kind of that sci-fi thing going, but I will just say, like, Hal Jordan doesn't necessarily appear as a Green Lantern yet, but he's got something seriously wrong with him, that basically he has this like dark hand that he doesn't really know how he has it, but it's like this cosmic, I don't know if it's his right or his left hand. If he takes it out of his pocket, it can just basically blank people, like just disappear them. so it's like you really feel for the guy, and yet there is the appearance of that character, and I wish I had written it down, but it's that first alien that meets Hal Jordan, but he looks very, very different in this. I think the last name is Sewer. Anyway,
Abian Sewer. Something like that.
That sounds right. But anyway, I did like this one. I just thought one of the other comics I read just edged it out, but I'm gonna keep going with it. So it doesn't. There's other things that just kind of happen in this story, like that kind of really wowed me. So I'm pleased with it. I don't know if either of you have read this one. Have you, or am I the only one? Oh, you did, Steve?
Yeah, I liked it.
You liked it too.
No, I didn't read it.
Yeah, Joe didn't read it. He's the holdout, but I liked it. I think it's a different approach, and I like that the absolute titles are starting to drift away from kind of just the small changes like we did see with like Batman and Wonder Woman. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I mean, Green Lantern, I think, was off to a good start, and it is taking more. It feels to me like it's more of a curse than it is a privilege to be a lantern, maybe, or something that you want to avoid rather than something that you seek out. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking maybe is what they're going for. It's not really clear yet, but yeah, I thought it was a good first issue. Well, the next one for me is Golden Rage #1. This is by Image Comics. This is 1 of 5. This is by Chrissy Williams, Lauren Knight, and a few others. So this is based either in the present or the near future, where women are deemed useless after a certain older women are deemed useless after a certain age, and they're put on a remote island to battle to the death, to fight, or to make desserts, is the tagline. So it's commentary on how society can view women and the elderly, and kind of they've had their children, they've done their thing, now just kind of go away and shut up, and kind of shipped off to an island, and wow. Nobody remembers you. Which I thought was kind of I thought it was kind of an interesting idea. The problem for me is that the characters just didn't pull me in enough to really kind of become too invested in it. I think it's a neat idea. I think this might be better in a trade than it is single issue, so it's something I'll keep an eye on. But it just wasn't enough kind of meat to keep me coming back for the second issue. Although I think it is a really neat idea, and it is commentary and an allegory for something without being too on the nose about it. And there's some humor mixed in. It's not, it's I think it's good overall. So, but just not something I would pick up single issues for.
Is it overly trying to be funny, or not really? More tongue in cheek.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, it is tongue in cheek. It does take itself seriously, but it does have lots of humor. But some of it is a little okay. Like, I get it, but it does kind of, it mixes in different personalities of different women. There's like the different ways that they like, oh, my hip hurts, or I'm tired, or whatever, and they're on this remote island trying to survive. So it's kind of funny, but yeah. So like it's an interesting idea, just not enough for me to keep up with single issues.
Cool. Well, I got Cruel Kingdom #4, and I should have listened to Steve and stayed away from this one. But I don't know. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't at the same level. I didn't have the same excitement. Like that first issue we got from this series was just fantastic, and I loved it a lot. It was my pick of the week when it came out, and it seems that the quality level of the stories have kind of just gone down since the first issue. And I mean, they're not bad. They're just okay. You know, they're just like, yeah, okay. They didn't seem to be, I don't know, grasping the reader the same way that those first couple issues did, and that's too bad because I really love the format and I really love what they were trying to do here, and it does have a spectacular cover. I love the cover. It's really nice. Like the cover's outstanding. And yeah, and you know, it's not like anything was really bad. Like the artwork was good, you know, for the most part. Maybe not up to some people's, you know, taste, but it still was well drawn per se. And I just I don't know, I just these three stories in here didn't I just couldn't get excited about them. That was it, you know. I thought they were kind of average compared to what we saw before. And this series is no longer, like, this was the last issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, really?
I don't know what's happening next. They're coming out in July with something called Cruel Universe, which is more sci-fi based. Which I'll check that out when it does come out. But this is the final issue for the foreseeable future, anyways.
Yeah, so I'm kind of bummed because I did finally pick this one up. I missed 1 through 3, and it sounds like it's kind of a dud. But I haven't read it yet. I didn't get a chance to read it.
Yeah, I mean, the cover is fantastic. I love this cover. This cover is great. But
I wish I had read it.
This. I love the style. I love the writing on it and stuff like that. The font and all, and that they use, and all the you know, the trappings around the cover and stuff. Even the back cover is pretty cool. So, but nice collector's item, I guess.
Yeah, I wondered if they had a bunch of stories kind of built up and ready to go, and then they kind of have they kind of had a bunch of stories that they planned on ahead of time, and as the issues went on, they started kind of getting stories in, like, not as close to release date, or, you know, closer to release date, and the quality just kind of naturally dips because you don't have enough time to really polish them and kind of, you know, tweak them. So maybe that's what it was, but I'm curious to see. I think it's good that this is the last issue, as much as I enjoyed 1 through 3, and 4 was okay. But I'm glad it's going to kind of shift gears and do something different.
Yeah, I mean, and that is kind of typical, I think, of, at least in the past, of anthology series. They start out with a bang, and then you know, and then things kind of trail off as they try to find, you know, the top tier talent has moved on to something else, and they try to find other people, they try to find other stories, and it gets harder and harder to fit things into themes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me, but I was hoping for a little more, but it's still cool though.
Yeah. So the next one for me is one that I got from Mike. I didn't even know this was a thing until he talked about it, which is Kids. It's a one-shot by Image, and it's written by Garth Ennis. So I'm going to buy it regardless. So I've gone back and forth with how much to say about this one, because I think there's some surprises in it. So I'm afraid to say too much. But it's about something happens to infants, and it becomes like an apocalypse type of situation. And there's some funny moments in it. I know there's some kind of commentary here. There's some kind of butt of the joke, and I don't know what it is, and it's bothering me, and I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like there's something that he's poking fun at, or in this typical Garth Ennis way, but I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a story for fun, just to be like, imagine if this happened, wouldn't that be crazy? Or is there something like, there's a commentary on the way that adults, I don't know. I have no idea, but I was gonna try and figure it out without cheating and looking it up somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun one shot.
I think I might have given more away when I talked about it a few weeks ago, but I get the sense that it's for fun, but it's like there is the I don't know. I'm a father, so I can say this, I guess. But the way and I've been like interacting with people with young kids, like under the age of 2 or 1, and just kind of the
God
way,
bless him.
you know, that energy has left me long ago. But just kind of the way they're thinking of these, you know, the infants or very young children is very different from later on in life, and they're so precious. And you know, what would happen if ... You know, what happens in this story, if we don't want to say it, but it's like, I just thought it's just really like, you know, a concept I've never seen before.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably more for fun, or I don't know, maybe maybe he's had some run-ins with people with little, you know, very young kids, and was like, well, they annoy me. I don't know.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how yeah. But anyway, yeah. There's no way I can go back to that. But anyway.
All right. Well, next up I have Polis #1 from AWA Comics, and it's also from Awa Studios and Futurific Studios. It's written by Mark Russell and illustrated by Lacey, and it's illustrated fairly well. I like it. I like the artwork. This is like a book that's kind of pushing this protopian vision of a future that's not a dystopian, but it's not a utopian either. So they kind of came up with a new term, and the story was okay. It was kind of I don't know. It's kind of basic, I guess, the story. The artwork was pretty good. What I didn't like about this book, this is a $7 book, and it is thick. It's double-sized, but the problem was the second half of the book was all encyclopedia stuff. It was all just commentary on this island nation that they constructed in here, that can also go. It can close up and go underwater whenever like a hurricane comes by or whatever, and then it comes back out. And so that's the basic premise of the sci-fi in here. And this whole second half of the book was just like an encyclopedia parts, what do you call it? It's entries that describe the different scientific aspects of this place. And so I was a little disappointed in that, because I ordered these books online. I'm not like looking through them at the store, and I didn't realize that was the case. I probably wouldn't have got it if I knew that, because I'm not interested in that. I want to read a comic when I get a comic. You know, and I mean, it was interesting stuff. It was neat stuff, and they had like some engineers in here actually commentating on the possibilities of how this could be possible if it was engineered for the future correctly. But so it was kind of a lecture on the future and what's possible and what kind of what we're not doing, I guess, now. And so it was a bit preachy as well, and so that kind of turned me off, and it was too bad, because the story itself had some potential to do something, and it kind of just fizzled. So kind of a downer.
It looks like this is a one-shot.
Yeah, but there's going to be other one-shots in this protopian vision.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on the AWA Studios website. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be speculative fiction that is focusing less on dystopian. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
where things could go right. Who wants that positive stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
Oh, it's good.
So will you go back for second issue, Jared?
No, I'll pass on this one.
All right. So the next one for me is Terminator number 6, or The Terminator number 6. This is by Dynamite Studios, written by Declan Shalvey and art by Lorenzo Ree. I really like this issue. This is almost my pick of the week. It kind of discusses how man was made in God's image, and then the Terminator tries to kind of copy man's image to infiltrate them and to kind of gain interest to replace God. It words it much better than I just did in the book, but that's the first page. It's basically kind of a history book on how the Terminator has evolved and how it became what we know and love from the movies, or some of the movies, about how it has a human skin, and it looks like a person, and it can pass for a normal person. So that didn't happen right away. It took some time to perfect that whole version of the Terminator, which I thought was really neat. This one almost reads like a history book. It kind of deals with different time periods and the different ways that it would kind of learn and evolve, and it would fail and it would learn and it would get better. And I really liked it. I think it was really neat. And you don't really have to be a huge fan of the Terminator to enjoy these. I think if you have a general idea of what the story's about, I think you can follow it. But yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the artwork. I thought the writing was, kind of had a little bit of a fun slant to it, that it read like a history book, but it didn't feel like you're reading a history book, if that makes sense. So anyway, yeah, good stuff. Terminator number 6.
Uh-oh. I think based on like my experience with reading like some of the Alien comics, I know it's a different franchise, although they've crossed over in movies and stuff.
That's Marvel, though. That's why.
Oh, that's why. Well, I've just been reticent to pick things up like that. Okay, this is not Marvel. Yeah. I see.
Yeah, Dynamite. Yeah, the Marvel stuff is kind of rough. I think they have to put out a certain amount of content to keep the license. Marvel does, so they pump out crap to keep the license active or whatever. And just because the books probably sell, even though they're not very good. But that hasn't really, so far, I think this series has been pretty, there's been a couple of issues that I wasn't crazy about.
Okay.
But overall, I think it's been pretty solid.
Yeah. So before we get to the picks of the week, I've got one more here, and that's You'll Do Bad Things from Image Comics. And I know Steve talked about it before. I will mention, which I thought was interesting, that this is from the Tiny Onion imprint, which is, I think, like James Tinian III's. Usually his name is attached. I think Steve, you said some really positive things about this book. I think I thought the coloring is really on display here, and you don't always see that. Actually, there's maybe one. My pick of the week also has fantastic coloring as well, but the rest of the artwork is much more kind of what I would call classic. I don't know if that's the right term, but I did find it sometimes hard to follow. It has kind of a serial killer thing going on, and I've been reading a lot of that stuff, and I think it just hit me at the wrong time. So I'm not. I'm sure that it's got some very kind of creepy horror vibes, and I did just kind of have, maybe it's just the time of day I read it or what's going on in my life, but I did feel a little bit lost, but I think it has some potential, and I know that it's doing some innovative things, like I said, with the artwork, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I think the artwork really shined on this one. I think it might be because I read this one and the Martian Manhunter, I think, right after, but they had similar kind of uses of, and not as I don't want to say advanced, but not as on display as Martian Manhunter. But they did use shadows and darkness and light and contrast really well, and you'll do bad things. So it really stuck out to me. But yeah, I think there is. I wasn't quite sure exactly what was real and what wasn't in that book, but I think that's part of the fun. So
yeah, so that does bring us to picks of the picks of the week for the three of us. I'll start us off, and I have to go with absolute Martian Manhunter #1. I know that Jared also read it, but I'll just say why I liked it so much. It just edged out, and I'm surprised to say I had 2 DC comics that I really liked, but it just edged out All In Green Lantern, or Absolute Green Lantern. And yeah, there's just I really like the story. I found it to be kind of a slow burn, no pun intended, because there is an explosion with the main character here, and just kind of him dealing with how he's seeing the world differently and kind of questioning his perception, and all of a sudden, just really freaky things happening in some panels, and just, a huge change color-wise from panel to panel, and then eventually towards the end it gets really psychedelic. And I think before we started recording, I had said that I had not been very familiar with this character, but I do know him as kind of this green guy, and looks like they're changing the look of the Martian Manhunter to kind of be like this. It's kind of like a Cyclops, or it's got a different look for sure, which I thought was cool. But yeah, generally, yeah, as you read through this book, it feels like it's warping your sense of reality, and just whatever. It's Dennis Camp is the author. What Camp is doing here, along with the artist Javier Rodriguez, is just working really well together. A nice, for me, harmony of artwork and story.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is what the Martian Manhunter is ultimately going to look like, or if it's just a kind of what you see in this guy's head.
Okay.
Our main characters, which is John Jones. That's no surprise to anybody. It's not a spoiler, because the Martian Manhunter has always been John Jones. If anybody knows any of the history of the character, yeah, I thought it was decent too. I liked it. I don't think I was blown away as you guys were, because I am quite familiar with the character from previous runs, and the previous runs did explore some very similar things that start getting explored in here. I like how this book did it in a little bit of a different way. It definitely did it in a more splashy and colorful way, whereas the previous books were a bit darker and bit had the artwork was a bit more like pencil realistic type style. But this is different, and definitely different in that portrayal, because the colors, like you guys said, kind of represent an unreality that's surrounding this guy that, of course, only he can see, most likely, and that's interesting, and so I liked it. I thought it was done well. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep on this or not. We'll see how it goes. But if you're not familiar with the character, I would definitely suggest keep going. It's a cool character. It's a neat concept.
I wonder if it's something that would appeal to people new to the character more than existing fans.
Might seem that way. Yeah, I think so.
Well, our sample size is
Pretty
2
small.
newbies.
Yeah.
So, but we are feeling that way at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we need for sample size, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good enough for me.
So my pick of the week was Absolute Superman number 6, so another Absolute book. And this was, I'm not sure if it would have made my pick of the week on a different week. It depends on the week, obviously, but this was the best for me out of the bunch I had here. So I think it was interesting because like the last issue kind of wrapped up a storyline, and this one kind of starts a new one. And I was a little worried about that, a little trepidatious about continuing on in the regular Absolute Superman series. But Jason Aaron, the writer, didn't disappoint. He kept things interesting, and I really liked that about it. I did not find my interest lagging at all, which was what I was worried about with a regular Absolute Superman series. That I was, even though it hasn't gone into territory that's redundant from Superman, it's still familiar enough, and that makes it worth continuing on. And I really like how I mean, this is almost like a jumping on point for new readers if they wanted to. You know stuff has gone on before, but it's not necessary for this issue for you to know the previous 5 issues. And I think anybody could just pick this issue up right now and just latch onto the series at this point. And it's pretty cool. It has some origin stuff in there, and it has some stuff that's just starting a new story in the present day, and I enjoyed it. And the artwork still continues to be pretty spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And I once again we're raving about colors all week this week, and this I like the coloring in this book as well. I love the use of reds to emphasize certain things. So that's my pick.
Very nice. It was good stuff. I'm really surprised that Absolute Superman is one of the Absolute books that I continued reading.
Yeah, it's me too.
Yeah. It seems like it's as far as kind of their comic book sphere goes, it seems like it's the least popular one, which is interesting. It seems like Absolute Batman just is
really
far and away the biggest seller. And I think Wonder Woman's up there too, but it'd be interesting to grab the sales charts just to compare kind of what the sales charts say to what we say about things.
Interesting.
Yeah. Would be fun. So we will be getting into Uncanny X-Men 94 and 95 right after I go over my pick. So my pick this week was Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. This is one of 3, and this was a bigger issue. I think it's 50 something pages. It's basically kind of like a Dark Knight Old Man Logan type of setup. And for those who don't know, it's basically just like an older, grizzled version of Matt Murdock who is living in New York. There's been some kind of event, and it's a dystopian kind of situation where the heroes are either dead, depowered, or in hiding somewhere, or worse. And Murdock has lost his powers. He doesn't have any power. He's older. He can't do the things he used to do. And he's trying to help. He's trying to do things, but he really is powerless to make any real change because he doesn't have any powers and there's no one else to really help him anymore. And I love this kind of setup of the old grizzled hero who has one last hurrah kind of thing when everything's gone to shit. And I love finding out like which heroes have survived, what this event was, what happened to them. The ones that are still alive, are they in hiding, or what are they doing? Are they plotting and planning? Who are the villains? All that stuff. I'm a big fan of Charles Soule, so I'll usually give his books a read, and he shines here. And I really like the artwork as well. So, I mean, yeah, I really liked it. It's right on my alley. I was a little bit trepidatious because I'm not a big Marvel guy, but this was a fun book. It was everything I love. So, ended up being my pick.
Very cool.
So what's amazing here is we have, I don't know if it's for the first time, but we have 3 DC picks, right? Or Daredevil is
Marvel.
Is Marvel. I apologize. 2 DC and 1 Marvel. And we have said, we're not so much into that stuff anymore, but it's it looks like things are changing.
Well, I think, this has to be the first time we've had more than one big 2, more than one Marvel and DC, or combination.
Yeah.
So, it's got to be. So, interesting. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Marvel.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel, I'm going way back. So this week we read Uncanny X-Men issues 94 and 95. This is where Chris Claremont takes the helm as writer of the series after Giant Size X-Men 1. And you can really tell the difference with everything's explained and laid out for you. There's not a lot left unsaid or open for interpretation. Everything's given to you. Cyclops is thinking this. Professor X is thinking this. The villain lays out his plan.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to ransom the world for whatever they can afford, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Whatever they can afford. Like, what are you going to prorate it?
Yeah. Well, no interest to it, is it?
We'll give them a sliding scale.
Yeah.
It's like a very UN approach.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And it was like, in how the teams were established through all this drama with dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was amusing. And we get the introduction of the Danger Room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
So that was like, we just get to see it real quick, about it's, the training room that the X-Men have that has all this technology in it. That's, they don't explain where Professor X got all this technology and where it all comes from, but it was just,
it's just there.
It's just there. Yeah. It's funny stuff.
X-Men AF is what.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then like number 94 was a lot of setup. This ended up being a 2-issue story basically, and we get a lot of setup. I love how in chapter 2 of this issue we get like what was the Count's name again? Is it
Nefaria?
Is it Nefaria? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how knows. Yeah.
Nefaria.
Yeah, a little subtle. Yeah. But I love how he accesses the NORAD, the military base in the mountain where all the nuclear missiles are kept, and he uses like this portal, and it comes off as supposed to be science, but really it's kind of magical if you think about it, and some of the mutant powers are actually kind of magical in their own way, especially like Storm. It's like, okay, she's summoning weather. That's that's kind of magical. So I just like that.
Yeah.
That they're they're using all this magical tropes, but it's in the name of science, as mutants have mutated to be, in a scientific way and stuff like that. And they're kind of establishing that in that issue there.
I wonder if they were going for, with this Count Nefario, if they were going for like an evil Doctor Strange, but because he has like a magician's outfit and a cape, and but he also has a monocle. I don't know. I thought he was kind of a cool bad guy. I liked him for some reason. I thought this was fun. Yeah, I don't know.
It was fun. Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. It's all fun. I just you get the dialogue that goes back and forth. They're kind of like these fun one-trick ponies where they, Sunfire's always being the guy who's like, I'm out of here, and then
oh yeah,
you got Thunderbird always saying like Cyclops, calling him Cyclops, and telling him to but then screwing up because he doesn't listen to the leader. So it a bit on the nose characterization, but it was fun though. It was just like you get to throw in all this information because the focus of it is the plot. It's not, here's the characterization. We're like you said, Steve, that they're giving it to you like, flat out, no guessing at all. But it's all about overcoming this nefarious plot to blow up the world with nukes, or ransom the world with nukes.
Only what they can afford.
Yeah, I was only able to read the what was it, number 94?
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of interesting, and I didn't join you all last week about the big, like issue 1 in this compendium. But they kind of just dispatch with a bunch of the other X-Men at the beginning here. So yeah, you had said Sunfire takes off, but then like other ones are kind of contemplating it, and then all of the old X-Men are like, "Hey, we're out of here. We're too old," because I don't know. I thought that was interesting because aren't these other X-Men also older? They're not kids. They're joining them. They don't like. I don't think. I could be wrong, but
no, you're right. Banshee is older.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah.
And of course we know now Wolverine's older. I don't know if we knew it back then, but yeah.
Anyway, but I just that kind of reminded me of something else I read, but maybe it was, I don't know, was it the Alan Moore stuff, that one of the things we were reading, but I wondered if that was Chris Claremont saying, I want to have my characters, or maybe it was already set up for him to do that, but there clearly was a big maybe change happening here. But because up until then, are some of these characters like brand new to the series? Yeah. Which ones?
Yeah, that was kind of the point. They were restarting the X-Men franchise from lagging sales, from it being on hiatus for a little while, and they used this as a chance to introduce new characters and give the franchise a shot in the arm and try to get some readers on board.
Definitely worked.
It definitely worked. Yeah.
I kind of forgot how big of a dickhead Cyclops is, but I think you kind of see why he is.
Yeah.
So, kind of the leader and his approach to things, but it is fun to see the setup for the way the group dynamics work later in the series that I have read. I haven't read these yet, but it is fun to see kind of how things started and what it became later. So I don't remember. I don't think this is a spoiler for anyone who knows much about comics, but eventually the characters, the originals, come back I think everyone kind of knows. I just don't know
Yeah,
when.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
this is spoiler talk, right? With
yeah,
we're reading along here.
So I just don't know when they come back, but it'll be fun to see how that all happens and what the circumstances are around that, and how the dynamics change again when they come back.
Right. Yeah. But for this issue, and I hate to spoil it for Mike here, but for number 95,
it's okay. It's okay. It says on the cover somebody will die.
Yes, and that does happen, and I think that was kind of a big thing back then.
Yeah.
And but like, what was interesting about 95 is you get that quick wrap up of the previous issue. Like, it takes up the whole first page, which is something they really don't do that much anymore. Sometimes they'll put a note on the inside cover or something like that, but I think that was a pretty cool thing for the times that this was coming out. Because if you're just buying this on a news rack in the store or something, then you would need something like that if you missed the last issue and you couldn't find it anywhere. And so they had that, and I love how when they're fighting these Annie-men that work for Count Nefario, the Annie-men are like, "You filthy mutants, we're men." And of course they look like animals,
You look like theme park mascots. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's a little, what's the distinction here, really?
Yeah, I think, well, wasn't he didn't he, they were humans that he transformed?
Yeah, he transformed, yeah. And so, but it's like, yeah, you didn't grow up this way, but you are transformed into something, so.
I think if that story was made now, they'd make some money online with their new forms.
Yeah.
So it's pretty lucrative. But yeah, I really like the artwork. I love the artwork.
Yeah. Dave Cockrum was the artist on this run, and he was some hot stuff back then. He was people caught on to his stuff, and it was pretty. I thought that 95 was pretty exciting, actually, with some of the because they were in some pretty dire straits at points, and they came up with some neat ways to get out of it, and some different neat stuff to do, and it's never drawn out or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It just happens, bam, 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 one thing after the next. And that's actually kind of refreshing compared to some of the modern day comics that are just drawn out. Like you'd have a whole issue of just slow storytelling where you get it in 2 pages, and this, and it's just it's pretty interesting to see the difference between then and now.
Yeah, but it would be a lot of double page spreads now instead of just normal layout.
Correct.
Or not normal, but panel layout. And so I really liked the idea that Nightcrawler couldn't teleport because of the speed he was falling at, and he would splatter.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of neat. Like it wasn't just, just teleport, you're fine. It's like, well, if I teleport, I'm going to just be a spot on the mountain. So he couldn't. So I thought that was kind of neat. Although when Thunderbird did die, I was kind of like, oh, it happens. It's like, oh, it'll, it's part of the job. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's who I thought was going to die, actually. Yeah. That was my guess.
Yeah, that was a pretty good guess. I guess it's pretty well telegraphed, but the what's interesting is it does have ramifications in the future, and so and I think that was the main thing. I think they wanted to have this dramatic death that's going to mean something in the comic book world of people dying and coming back. So and that's a pretty good distinction for a character in comics at that time.
Yeah, I'm kind of it's fun going back and reading these and seeing
It
the
is.
differences and kind of what the X-Men are today. This is kind of the foundation of it.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Yeah, there's a little mention of that he introduces the idea of a phoenix in one of these in this issues. He introduces there's a reference to the Beast working for the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff, that little things that you could tell he had on his mind and was thinking about for future stuff.
Gonna catch that.
I mean, looking in hindsight, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's we get to do that, thankfully, to notice those things.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. So are you on board, Mike? Would you pick up the next issue if it was being printed today?
Huh. I mean, it's because I do know these characters, so it's let's just say I didn't. I would say yes. I will comment on the giant-sized issue number 1. I was frantically trying to find out what year it came out because I thought it said 1975. But I did not like that one, and I was like worried. But I know it was a different writer. But the issue you talked about last time, I found it to be really tough going. But with this one, I'm happy, and I'm looking to the future. So yeah, it was so the dialogue was just so cheesy. It was like, I don't know. I know that's how things were back then, and I really did think, well, this is for kids, and I guess that's fine. But I think with Claremont coming on, it really kind of changed things a bit. So looking forward to see where it goes.
Yeah, so if you're new to the show, and I forgot to mention this, but it is available on Hoopla. The omnibus is available on Hoopla, so you can read it with us for free. Hoopla or Libby. So if you'd like to read along with us, it's free to do. That's why we chose this. And yeah, it'd be fun if you can read, I think, 2 issues a week with us. So next week would be 96 and 87. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. So we'll discuss those 2 next week. I don't think those are double, so just 2 regular sized issues.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of see where it goes. But yeah, be fun if everyone read along. And if you do have any comments or questions or suggestions, of course, you can use the link down below to send us a message directly, or you can join our forums and say hello there and tell us how wrong we are about whatever it is we said. And so until the next time, Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me on the podcast Speculative Speculations and other fine podcasts on pagechewing.com.
And Mike, where can people find you and bother you?
I'm just on the pagechewing.com forum, and I think would anybody want to reach out? Go for it. Yeah, it would be fun. Let us know that you're listening, and give us suggestions if there's something you think we'd like, or another book that's available on Hoopla or Libby that we can read after Uncanny X-Men. I mean, let us know, and we'd love to give it a shot. We're trying to look for more classic books that we can dig into and kind of like a retrospective kind of thing. So, but until next time, thanks everyone for listening. We will talk to everyone soon, and hope that you find your pick of the week. Forgot your bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I don't know.
1 week
I
off,
forgot.
Slacking, Rick.
I know. Maybe we don't do it anymore. It's been a while.